Hey there, so today I want to return to that wonderful world of voice acting, and today I want to return to the conversation we've been having really for the last month, and I want to point out a specific phrase that seems to be overlapping conversations again and again, one that has been utilized as a bludgeon to go after Vic Mignogna, and one when you look at the way that it's thrown out there, well, it might surprise you how it was used versus how it is being used as a weapon. This thing is silence is consent. You know, being quiet about something basically says that you consent to it. You'll see people bringing that up over and over again too. In fact, I would encourage you to look up a few keywords if you go on, say, Twitter. Look up silence, look up the word consent, and look up the word Vic. I mean, if you pull them up, you will find conversation after conversation of people utilizing this to tap dance on the grave of a career. And it's amazing where this comes from. I mean, when you look at, say, the people that are tied to voice actors, or voice actors themselves, one of the first people, of course, you see is Ron. Ron, he's really good at throwing out things like this, you know, clips that truly showcase how and what he sees out there, how and what he thinks, you know, works as control, and what ultimatums, you know, they work as. Here, you see him threatening Vic. Take him out and have a lawsuit if he doesn't go out and control people on social media. That's the level of control that these folks think that he has. And also, you know, that's the level of threats that these people bring to bear. But then again, why be surprised by that? This is the same guy that was saying that if you utilize sweet cheeks out there, well, that's a way to get disbarred. Go see the video on that if you haven't. It's a really good one. But here's Ron. Vic, if you don't get on here and tell people to back the F off Monica, we're going to have a problem. We will be forced to take you to court. I am tired of this shit, and you know what you have done to these women's. Silent is not consent. MFer, your choice. Man, you know, you talk about someone wanting to pound on their chest and wanting to sound tough, but also in there, again, you see, silence is not consent. You know, an answer to something, silence is consent. Here we see Jamie Marchi. Jamie, don't even know where to begin with statements about Jamie. I swear it's like a laundry list of bad mentality thrown out there. I mean, it is amazing. Absolutely astounding. It shows me why Twitter pretty much is one of those things. If I didn't have a need for that to look at videos, I would never ever go on there because of folks like this. Cosplay is not consent. Silence is not consent. Assuming consent is not consent. Please look out for each other. Please step up for each other. Be the voice for people who need it, and let people be a voice for you when you need it. Now, what's interesting about this, you know, of course, we get the silence is not consent. The answer to silence is consent, but also the cosplay is not consent. Did you know that that means that taking photographs, if you're not a quote-unquote licensed photographer in, say, certain conventions, that's actually against the rules? I found that to be particularly interesting. Go out, just brought a camera with you, taking pictures. Nope, can't do that because cosplay is not consent. Interesting stuff too. The trolls have also been out. You know, people that are trying to latch on to the hobbies that you know and love because, hey, you know, they're open game. Is anyone surprised this dude thinks a woman agreeing to watch a movie with him means he has the right to jam his tongue down her throat? I guess we can't expect any better from supporters of Vic, quote-unquote, silence gives consent, Mignola. So you see that right there. You see that from people that love to brigade, that move from hobby to hobby, trying to hijack and trying to destroy because, hey, that's who and what they are. That's their identity. Here's another one of those also. You know, those people that are moving from comics now, wanting to move over to this because they totally care about what you like out there. They totally know about manga and anime. They're totally down with that, of course. Per Vic, silence equals consent. Not enthusiastic consent. Not even a clearly stated yes. The line he draws is, you approve of my behavior unless you tell me otherwise. Hashtag Hashtag Kickvic. Now, where all of this comes from is actually a little article you might recognize. This one right here. Now, this I found to be particularly interesting because of the way that it's put together. I mean, if you go in, first of all, of course, if you haven't looked into who Beth there is, you haven't looked at the connections between people like, say, a Mars girl, I would definitely say that you should. But also look at the tools here. Look at how this is picked up. Now, for simplicity's sake, what I'm going to do is show you a shot of this at the beginning and a shot at the end of the article to say how this is basically booked in, but you could see where it's coming from. So it starts out here. Last summer, voice actor Vic Mignogna went into a booth with a few others to record audio for a video game. At one point, Mignogna asked the client who was overseeing the session if she was okay with his performance. When she didn't answer right away, he followed up with, "You know the old Latin, or is it Greek? There's an axiom that says silence gives consent." So you can see how this is going to start out. You can see how it's going to be utilized as a bludgeon. And sure enough, it is. You know, after you have all of this supposed testimony, of course, anonymous testimony, because why actually hold anyone to a standard? No, can't do that. Here, we have this bookended this way. Last summer, Mignogna went into a studio and told a small group of people that silence gives consent. It may have been in response to a query about his performance, but you like that too. It may have been in response to this other thing out there, but you know, who cares exactly how that sets up? Let's frame that a different way. Let's basically give some kind of credo to all of these people out here shouting all of these terrible things. Oh yeah, you know, let's just set up the stage because, hey, let's add implied context. But anyway, so he gets in there and he says that, but voice director Donald Schultz told IO9 that it eventually became something else. So, you know, because someone else goes out there and says, hey, it started out like this, but, you know, it ended up this other thing. Well, you know, that's obviously the end all. I mean, when we're putting together a slander piece, who cares? But continuing on, when others in the room tried to push back, including Schultz saying that the phrase doesn't reflect today's values, Mignogna didn't drop the subject. He clarified, if I'm a jerk and you don't tell me so, then you're consenting to me being a jerk. See how that works, he said. If somebody is doing something you don't approve of and you don't say anything, the implication is that you must be okay with it. Well, they're not silent anymore. Now, you see how the context becomes something else here. Again, it basically becomes this avenue where people can go out and they can weaponize it in such a terrible way. They take the meaning here and they tell you how it happened. You know, first it came out from a recording session, like I said, the immediate bookend here, saying, hey, if you don't tell me that there is a problem with what I'm doing in the booth, well, apparently you like it. Apparently you consent to it. The same thing here too. You know, if you don't like the way that this stuff is coming together, if, you know, we're talking about a performance here and you don't like the way that is, well, you're telling me it's okay. Then he gives an example within that, and apparently that example, it became about something else. Now, what's interesting about this, here's a nice little quote. Maybe some of those folks should try on. To be sure I must, and therefore I may assume that your silence gives consent. Where did that come from? Oh, it's a quote from Plato. So, you know, when we were going back to that little thing at the very beginning, when we were talking about that start out, and we were talking about him saying, you know, the old Latin, or is it Greek, that axiom there? Yeah, he was actually talking about something indeed. He was talking about something that clearly did not reflect all of these things being thrown at him. But hey, why let that get in the the way of a good narrative? Why let that get in the way of current year either? I mean, when you're out there brigading and you're trying to burn someone down, why let a little truth stand in the way of that speed bump that you call a career? You know, you should be hopping the curb all the time, running over things left and right, because hey, that's the way you should play. This is what happens when a smart person works with dumb people, this continues. He's just saying that if you aren't happy with what I'm doing, you'd say so while in a work environment. He's quoting Plato, you tool. Yeah, he's quoting Plato to people out there that, you know, the only Plato they've probably had any contact with is probably in their little safe space rooms where, you know, they manipulate it into little forms. Yep, those wonderful things where they get crayons and whatnot. They're not into the higher learning. They're not into actually looking at what's meant here. Oh no, they're using this as a type of tool, as a way to basically batter and ram someone's career down. And you know what the ugliest part is? It works. It works, and it works really, really well. I mean, if you go out and you look at these people and what they've done in their 280 character culture, in their chase for that current year clap out there, you know, that socially transmitted disease, they have basically burned down this guy. And he at least had enough support to stand up and say, no, that's not going to happen. Imagine all the people this happens to that can't stand up. It can't get help with it. Imagine what happens to them as they sit and watch their lives get ruined because some people decided, hey, you know, guilt out there. Well, he admitted to it. I mean, look at what he said there. He said, silence gives consent. What a monster, man. Current year, isn't it beautiful? But tell me what you think about this. So if you like this kind of content, if you say to yourself, that umbrella guy, I love what you do, I love your channel. In fact, you know, I'm sitting over here silently because my heartbeats are giving your channel consent. Oh man, isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you hit that bell for daily content. And if you want to go further, maybe you want to go out and form a dictionary to say silence. What's that? Here's consent. Here's a lot of it. Well, make sure to check out the links in the description. Seriously, check those out. They definitely help the channel out. And also leave comments. I want to know what you think about stuff. And, you know, to close out, these folks, they forget you. They forget that the endeavors that they have, the accomplishments that they have basically put their name on, all of that stuff, it wasn't possible without you. The audience, the folks that backed it, they have forgotten you there. Me, I never want to forget you there. So I want to end by saying thank you. I appreciate you being here, and, you know, leave comments. We'll do it again next time. Thank you.